First of all,
this is the B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The B.S. Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the B.S. Report, special doubleheader for this week. We're going to call my buddy JackO at work to ask him about the Yankees and how worried he is, but also a big week for JackO because he had his first ever song written about him. And for everybody who's known him for the last 20 years, we really knew this day would come. We just didn't know when. But we're going to play that song at the end of this podcast. Right now we're going to call him and get his thoughts on the Yanks, being immortalized in music and everything else. Let's give him a ring.
Complex Litigation, this is John.
Johnny.
What's up, Willie?
How are you?
Good, thanks.
How you feeling?
I feel all right.
How's life?
What's that?
How's life?
It's not bad.
Now, you've contested the BS Report Awards after some nefarious voting that happened. We're not sure. Somebody figured out how to just replicate the votes, and now the voting system has gone to shreds, and we don't know who's leading and what votes are legitimate. So
I'm taking this all the way to the Supreme Court. This is like Florida 2000.
I don't want to divide the nation with this thing, so what might end up happening is I might just be the one-man jury for the awards.
Wow.
and hand them all out.
You are a brave man. There could be repercussions for that.
The problem was the Chad system that we used.
That's exactly right.
There's some hanging Chads in there.
I don't want my supporters to have to take to the streets in anger. I've had a hard time holding them at bay.
Now, we haven't talked in 2 weeks. And
right.
As we've discussed in detail on the real world, we don't make any apologies about watching this show.
No.
And, we've been around for the entire history of it. And I watched the first 2 episodes and decided that, these people are too young and too stupid. I was ashamed of myself watching. I kind of checked out. And then you emailed me and you describe the content of the email that you sent me after last week's show. What did you say? I forget the wording.
Well, I said something along the lines. It was to you and our buddy Joe House, and saying, please tell me that you watched the show last night because it might have been the single greatest episode ever. It was basically like a split episode between Joey, the has-to-be steroid-abusing, alcoholic, drug addict, going on a complete, incredible Hulk-esque rampage through the house.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a bender. I agree. It was if the Incredible Hulk had gone on a bender.
Where literally I feared for the safety of everyone in that house. It's absolute insanity.
And myself.
And myself at home. Like I was watching like through my fingers as I covered my face in fear and horror and shame. And then the other part of the show was our favorite stripper, Brianna, going home to Philadelphia to answer her warrant and falling back in love with her ex-boyfriend. While poor Will was dragged along for the ride, wondering, what the hell am I doing here?
Right.
So it was everything you could possibly want in a microcosm.
I like the fact that she didn't feel like she was too big for the strippers pole, be it on the real world. Like, she came back and she's like, hey, if I'm here, I got to do a couple dances.
I got to make a couple bucks.
And then I also enjoyed when she didn't have to fly back for the hearing, and then somebody was like, oh, didn't you know you had to get a lawyer? And she's like, yeah, I just didn't have time. You're in the real world. You have 24 hours a day of time.
Right.
I didn't have time.
That rigorous job of going to improv acting class for an hour a day really ties one up, you know?
Between my strip pole dancing and my improv acting and drinking every night, I didn't have time. Sorry. I didn't have time to control my legal future.
Right. So really it was everything one could possibly want, and a lot of things one could possibly not want in one episode. But like a train wreck, you just couldn't look away.
Well, and then there was that one moment when the guy, the Incredible Hulk, when you really thought he was going to go in the room where the 2 girls were cowering, his 2 female roommates.
I was screaming at the TV, run for your lives. Like,
they snuck out. When they snuck out, it was like when Jamie Lee Curtis sneaks the kids from one bedroom to another at the end of Halloween. Like, that was the level of fear. And he heard the rumbling of them walking and ran into the other room. Did you say something? And then he's like, you're lucky. That really could have been the first reality TV death.
And then he came back in and was like, one punch, I'd knock them out. Really? You think you'd be able to knock out 200-pound girls with one punch? They're a tough guy, you know?
Yeah.
It's just insanity. Like, they literally should have had, like, people from the zoo come in with a tranquilizer gun. Because if that guy really decided to go even crazier, there was just nobody there stopping him.
Yeah, we talked about this. I liked how you made a good point about how the real-world producers, nobody intervened at any point.
No.
It was like they were feeding him raw meat, hoping he would get angrier.
Not until the very end when he's like, I want to go home, I want to be off the show. Then the producer stepped in, like when it was almost too late.
Maybe they didn't want to get hit.
And then he immediately went from complete rampage to, I think I need to go to rehab, and was completely sober within 45 seconds. Hugging everybody, crying and apologizing. It was the quickest turnaround in the history of humankind.
I got to be honest, I haven't seen mood swings like that since Roger Clemens in Game 2 of the 2000 World Series. That's the last time I've seen that kind of emotional swing from moment to moment. But you made a good point about that if they had kind of tried to calm him down, like having the zookeepers with the tasers really would have been the only way to do it. Like wearing like white lab coats and those things covering their face so if they get sprayed by blood, they don't catch something.
I was thinking about it, and I don't know if it would be funnier if they were like in lab coats, like the Goat Boy sketch from Saturday Night Live, or if they were like the crocodile hunter with like nets and like a tranquilizer gun. Like the guy was like a rampaging rhino, you know?
Well, what was really great about this is that this guy in the third episode or the second episode almost ended up getting it going with the pole dancer who was a former crystal meth abuser. And I think, honestly, if that had gotten going, they got married, I think they named the kid No Chance. No Chance Johnson or whatever his last name is.
Right.
I mean, really, can you imagine if those two reproduced?
I don't know. Maybe it would be like two negatives make a positive. Like somehow the kid would end up to be like Albert Einstein.
I don't think so.
No, you don't think so?
Yeah, I'm going to say no.
You're not buying that theory?
I'm going to say no on that one.
Well,
anyway, I'm glad you got me watching again. I really appreciate it.
Like The Godfather Part 3, we pulled you right back in. Just
you really
did. You were out.
You really
didn't watch last night's episode by any chance, did you?
Of course I did.
Is it just me, or does the club promoter, JoJo, look a lot like Dane Cook?
You think he's Dane Cook in disguise?
I think he looks like Dane Cook with a piercing.
I like the fact that the crystal meth addict brought JoJo, the skeeviest guy, I think in the history of any reality TV show has ever made a cameo, brought him back, and her roommates were sleeping, and they just immediately started having sex.
Yeah, that was good. No, not afraid.
It brought me back to the days when we shared a room my junior year, and I would wait to make sure your snoring got loud enough that I could proceed with my girlfriend at the time. Same thing. They didn't wait for the snoring in the real world.
I didn't think you were going to go there, but you did. Kudos to you. Good job.
They'll take it out.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
But, speaking of JoJo, the club promoter, I've been admiring his belt buckle, a rhinestone-encrusted handgun.
Yep.
Belt buckle. You live out in L.A., and my birthday's coming up in a couple of months. I'd like nothing more than that belt buckle. It looks so good with my suits at work. Like I go to a meeting and just unbutton my jacket and be like, what? I got the rhinestone gun belt buckle. Now what?
It's a strong statement.
I think it really suits me.
Well, I am upset. I feel like we have a quid pro quo kind of friendship, and you asked me to get back in the real world. I can never say real world. It turns me into Bob Cousy. How would Bob Cousy pronounce the real world?
Like you just did. The same way Barbara Walters would.
I remember when Chauncey Billups was on the team, Coos was in so much trouble. I think that's why they traded him.
The worst ever was Jerry Seastig.
Oh, that's right. He's Jerry He did the Ellen James Society pronunciation. But I'm very upset that you asked me to get back in the real world, and I did. And I implored you in-house to get into Paradise Hotel 2, and you just would not do it.
No,
you just wouldn't do it.
In retrospect, it's bad. Maybe I'll buy the DVDs when they come out. I feel like I have to make it up to you and to America.
It gets better every episode. And I only know two other people who watch it. And each time I think they peak, it goes to another level. It goes one step further. Like it's like the Spinal Tap goes to 11. We're now at like 17.
Wow.
That's how good it is.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
Now I'm going to pre-order the DVDs. I'm that excited.
If you think that real world episode was fantastic, then Paradise Hotel consistently blows it away. A show with no rules that just changes the rules midway, no rhyme or reason to anything, and just people getting drunk talking about the game, but there's no game. I don't know. I don't know what's holding you back. It's frustrating.
I don't have a good answer. I wish I did, but I just don't. You stumped me. You're right. There's no reason not to.
Well, you're hurting me is the reason why you're not doing it.
Maybe you can send me the DVDs along with the rhinestone-encrusted handgun belt buckle. It would be the greatest birthday ever.
What is your birthday? July 2nd?
July 2nd, yeah.
Yeah, all right. I'll work on all those things. Let's talk about the Yanks.
All right.
So Darryl Rasner, clearly on his way to a 20-0 year and the Cy Young.
The homeless
kind of
guy,
saved
Joe
the season for
Santana.
you.
That's right. The savior. This year's Aaron Small for the win 10-0 a couple years ago.
You don't need Santana anymore because you get Darryl Rasner.
That's right. I'm going to buy his jersey.
Darryl Rasner, by the way, a borderline member of the Reggie Cleveland All-Stars, I think.
Yeah, anybody named Darryl, I think, is in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a little shocked to see that he was white, but it's funny that this was the guy that they was able to do the I'll give you 6 mediocre innings, but I'll get the win.
Yeah.
I thought Phil Hughes and Ian Kennedy would be able to do, and neither of them could do it.
No. You mean Raz? That's what they call him. Girardi's like, Raz really gave us 6 good innings last night, Gave up 8 hits and scattered 2 runs, so...
He's doing so well that Chin-Ming Wang nodded at him yesterday. And they're passing by in the locker room. And Chin-Ming Wang gave him a brief nod, and then went back to his Dungeons and Dragons Korean game.
They're going to try and work up to the knuckle bump. We're hoping for that in about a month or 2.
Chin-Ming doesn't do that because he doesn't like touching people.
That's right. He just likes watches and cars.
He's the best. So how are you feeling this week about the Yanks?
I don't know. Pretty mediocre. I can't go too crazy because, the Rays are in first place. They're not the Devil Rays anymore.
Yeah.
The Rays are in first place, and I can't imagine that's going to last. The Yankees have to keep the Red Sox in their sights, and the Red Sox haven't run away and hid. And,
nope.
Maybe Ian Kennedy will pitch well tonight, and maybe Darryl Rasner will keep doing things. The Moose has been a pleasant surprise, 6-3.
You guys are 20-21 at the 1/4 mark.
I know. I realized that, but
I was making sure you realized that. I just wanted to throw that out.
Last year at this time, they were like 11-19, I think, and change. So 20-21 is an upgrade, unfortunately. But
180 million, you're going to start slow.
Try 209 million.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I will say that the underrated subplot of this Yankee season has been Mo Rivera quietly churning out another fantastic season.
Yeah, the other day was the first run he gave up. And,
yeah.
That's going to happen. It was the 11th inning. What are you going to do?
17 innings, 9 hits, 1 earned run, 14 strikeouts, no walks, 11 saves, a 0.53 whip, 0.53 ERA. Really, a Hall of Fame campaign for him so far.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't just jinx him.
He'll be at the All-Star game at the big ballpark in the Bronx.
I thought he'd be done by now, I got to be honest.
I did too. I was worried about that. That's why I like Jabba stepping into that role like Rivera did with Wetland in 96, or after 96. But he's been good. He's been solid.
What about Jabba? He's taken a little bit of heat.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the media needed something to talk about as controversy. Like, if that's the biggest controversy that Jabba, does a fist pump. I mean, I don't really I'm not a fan of, the Chad Johnson antics and, Joe Horn and all that, but I don't think it's quite up to that level, I mean, he's 21 years old. He was never, a prospect. He came out of nowhere. He grew up in Nebraska, in a trailer park. A kid gets excited when he strikes people out. I don't think
his dad has polio.
And his dad has polio.
Yeah.
I mean, he does a fist pump. It's not like he's, pointing at anybody. Remember the controversy in the early 90s when the Red Sox played the A's and Eckersley struck out Dwight Evans and he pointed at his catcher, and Eckersley got all bummed out. He's he was the best man at my wedding, and now he's now I hate him. He's dead to me.
Right.
There was a big controversy. He's not doing that. He's not I don't think he's intentionally showing people up. I think he's just excited.
But I did.
Of course, he's a Yankee. If it was a Red Sox, I'd be calling for him to be arrested. So.
I did the his dad has polio as I wasn't making fun of polio. I know I'll probably get an email because that's the way the world works now. I was doing the thing about how, sapping it up like the way they do in sports.
Let me just say, people, I've known Bill for over 20 years, and I know he's always been against polio. He's been a crusader in the fight against polio.
Always. I have never, ever liked polio. It's funny, I started my Doc Rivers column on Wednesday, joking that after, I needed 4 shots of whiskey and some Vicodin to calm down. And I got these emails. Dude, the youths are reading you, man. That's not a good example you're setting by getting drunk. And I was really? It wasn't obvious I was kidding there?
Liza Minnelli emailed in and was like, some people really have problems with whiskey and Vicodin, Bill. It's not a joke.
Liza Minnelli said, have you tried orange juice with the whiskey and Vicodin? Hey, one more Yankee stat for you. Kiyagawa. 3 innings, 11 hits, 6 earned runs. That's pretty impressive.
I can honestly say that I have never disliked any major league athlete as much as I dislike him. And the joke of it is, after that outing, which was, I mean, I could have done better, after the game he's like, I just think I need to work on getting more strikeouts. I think it was overall pretty good. No, okay, it really was not. It really wasn't.
So what happens when the Yanks spend $90 million on Yu Jarvis?
Yeah, I was reading about him.
You're going to kill yourself?
I was reading about him on ESPN the other day. I want no part of him. We're done. No mas. No mas after Rabu and Kagawa. Oh, we're good, thanks.
The Giambino threw 101 at-bats. 188 average, 351 on base, 7 homers, 20 RBIs, and 15 strikeouts. Not really what you were looking for.
No, especially at the tune of $20 million a clip. No, not at all.
Johnny Damon, who was red hot for a little while there, had everybody like, "Oh, Johnny Damon."
Hey, by the way,
down to 264.
Can we officially call him Jason Giambi's expiring contract from here on out? He's in the final year. Can you just give me that? Can you throw me that bone?
Is it? Are we sure it's the final year? I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some loophole that it gets triggered if he has 500 at bats or something.
No player option. If there is, believe me, I'll throw myself physically on the field if he's at bat number 499.
Derek Jeter, 297, 331 on base. How about this? 393 slugging. I'll throw out the steroids. I have no problem with that.
Come on.
No, I know.
Please.
The captain would never.
Captain Clutch.
Captain wouldn't cheat. He was
his
raised
power
right.
numbers have gone down for about the last 10 years.
393 slugging.
Yeah, he's just got
724 OPS.
He only has one home run.
724 OPS.
A little slow out of the gate.
Slow?
He's the captain.
I actually thought Bobby Eyebrow was going to do better. I have him on both of my fantasy teams.
Can we also call him Bobby Abreu's expiring contract? Can you give me that too?
I think we're almost there. I mean, who could they have potentially? Well, I guess there was really no other outfielders because they exercised the option.
Right.
Like you wouldn't want Andrew Jones. I think Andrew Jones, if he was doing in New York what he's doing for the Dodgers right now, actually would be murdered. Some fan would run out onto the field with a chainsaw, and that would be that. It'd be all over. Hey, have you read anything about this new Yankee Stadium and the pricing and stuff next year?
A little bit. I know it's going to be exorbitant.
I had a friend of mine tell me that he has a friend who lives in New York who has seats like a little past third base, up, not like the greatest seats ever, but solid seats. And it's like $67,000 per ticket.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like $258,000 for 4 seats for the year.
Oh,
for these
my God.
Yankees. Supposedly $2,500 per ticket first row.
Yikes. I heard on the radio something along those lines, like some corporation owns seats behind home plate, and they were like, right now they go for like the first row behind home plate. They're owned by Shearson Lehman Brothers or somebody, Merrill Lynch or somebody, and they're like $1,500 a ticket, and next year they're like $6,000 or something.
My God.
Yeah.
Who's going to be going to these games?
Well, that's one of the problems in sports is like Joe Sixpack can't take his wife and 2 kids to the game anymore because it's just ridiculous,
Right.
So you don't have a home court advantage, you don't have a home field advantage because you just have like all these corporate guys, and it's all just like corporations and their clients, and everybody's like, "Oh, do I cheer now? I like the music when that plays."
I hate it.
It's awful.
I've seen it happen in the NBA playoffs. I will say this is one of the weirdest things that I never would have guessed is that the Lakers have a great crowd because there's so much money in LA that you actually have real fans that go to the game who just are rich.
Right.
And they're not there for the regular season games because they probably sell the tickets off or whatever, but there's like a real buzz and they know when to cheer in the right times and stuff. Like I was shocked. Whereas like you watch like San Antonio and they're like sheep. Like Jumbotron, instruct me.
Yeah.
What must I do now? Should I cheer? Playing music as the play is going on. They're playing the Rocky theme. I mean, give me a break.
It's a joke. Give me back the days of the old Boston Garden where guys are like smoking cigarettes and have 3 teeth that are screaming obscenities.
I know.
Guy works all day, like 9 to 5. It's his outlet. It's better some ways back then.
I remember watching it change in the 80s with me and my dad, like watching the people around us, like, hey, the guy who used to wear the blue cap, he's not there anymore. The guy who was like an MBTA, working the MBTA shift, but somehow had mid-court tickets. Like, just every person got priced out. It was like 2 a year, and then all of a sudden it was just business people.
Right.
And that was it. It's depressing.
And now you're paying $8 for a beer, and and it's a completely corporate, soulless crowd, and it's awful. It's it's depressing.
Yeah,
it really
not
is
good.
depressing.
The Celtics playoff crowds have been pretty good for the most part, but I just think some of these other crowds.
Yeah, very.
I want to know who's going to these New Orleans games because they've had pretty good crowds, but nobody was going until like February. But I think their crowds have been pretty
They're
good.
cupping on. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Good for New Orleans to have a little
Good
something
for New
going there.
Orleans.
Everybody's America's team.
If the Celtics get knocked out, I'm jumping right on that bandwagon. I mean, it'll be like literally like they'll be walking off the court, and I'll be putting on a New Orleans hat.
Putting on your bright yellow jersey. Yeah. Nice.
Hey, we got something to talk about. A band by the name of Theocracy.
That's right, the U2 of the South.
A band by the name of Theocracy has created your own theme song.
This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Is it honestly in the top 5?
Let me put it this way. Oh, yeah, it's. I immediately downloaded it into my iPod, and it's about an hour away from being in the top 25 most played on my iPod. I can't get enough of it.
Wow.
I don't have children, but someday when I do, their birth is really going to have a lot to measure up to compare to having my own song by Theocracy.
It is amazing. I mean, I got this email, and it's a very smart move by them because
it's a little free plug.
Obviously, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to direct people to their website and
buy their products. Please.
And buy their products.
For me, all my friends and fans, we're all going to get Theocracy T-shirts. My friends and family.
My producer Joe Mead and I were discussing it before we had you on. Like we were debating whether they took an old song and changed the lyrics because the song is like it's legitimately good. Like it's almost hard for me to believe that they were just they just said, "Hey, let's just throw this together."
One of my friends called me and she said, "It's like professionally produced."
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like it would sound like you figured it would just be like 3 guys in their garage that could like barely play the instruments,
They have their own website, theocracymusic.com. And on this website...
Go buy their stuff.
Their new song... There's so many things I love about what they did here. The song is called The Gregarious Raconteur, which I must have mentioned in one of the podcasts casually, but that was our joking nickname for you in college. We called it The Gregarious Raconteur. You would regale us with these 10-minute stories about things that had happened, and we were always captivated.
Sure.
And then the chorus is, you had us at hello, JackO, the man, the myth, the legend, the gregarious raconteur. Oh, Babe Ruth to Joe DiMaggio, the greatest Yankee of all is the gregarious raconteur.
High praise.
And then at the end, they do this kind of like a Michael Jackson Thriller, like where the guy laughs at the end, it fades away, but it's me saying, Jenny, Jenny, Jenny.
Great.
Everything about it is fantastic.
My favorite line is when they say, enemies of Boston sports arise, meet your leader, litigate and terrorize, and then it's like JackO and Hank Steinbrenner are your leaders or something.
Yeah,
fantastic. It's fantastic.
Now, my favorite was, Johnny's mad and likes to flaunt it, but if he comes to Charlestown, CT might pepper his sauce.
Yeah.
That was just well done.
I'm not going to lie to you. This song is audio Viagra for me. I'm not going to kid you.
It's your theme song.
It really is. It's so great.
You know what's funny is I've known you for, really, it's going to be 20 years in September.
Yeah.
And you've always needed your own theme song. And I wish I had this 20 years ago. And every time you walked in my room, we could have just blared the theme song. Actually, I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast, but we lived next door to each other freshman year at Holy Cross. I lived with Eugene McDonough from Needham, Massachusetts. You lived with Nicholas
J. Aida.
From Sandwich, Massachusetts, who within the first month, I think that we were there, he had there's some girl back home and they broke up and he was bitter about it and he was listening to Morrissey and the Smiths and the Cure constantly.
Yeah.
And we would make fun of him and we started playing, he'd leave, he'd go to class and we'd go into your room and we'd play the songs and laugh about how depressing they were.
We would just read the titles.
And then we immediately became Morrissey, Smiths, and the Cure's fans from listening to songs that we were making fun of. We kind of got into it a little bit.
Exactly.
But anyway, so we lived next door to each other freshman year, which kind of shows how random life is, John.
It's true. It worked out for me. Now songs are being written about me just because of my association with you.
Now you're the gregarious raconteur.
Funny how life works.
And that freshman year, I had a newsletter that I used to hand write called The Velvet Edge.
We just didn't have the technology back then.
No, we didn't have the technology. It's
now
so
it would
weird.
be email and a blog and.
I would have been thrown out. I would have been out by December.
Good point. Yeah, the administration would have gotten.
Well, think about all the stuff we could have done. Like we could have had a website with the blog. We could have, taped people drunk and put them up.
Uploaded videos.
Yeah, I would not have lasted to Thanksgiving break, I don't think.
We would all be. We would be with the guy from The Real World, the Incredible Hulk. There.
Well, I think it's funny. The newsletter I used to hand write out was called The Velvet Edge, and the reason it was called The Velvet Edge was because we had an RA on our hall who I won't mention, but we had some copy of some porn movie called The Velvet Edge, and we were all in my room watching it, and some female from the other side of our hall came over and walked in the room and saw us all watching the porn movie, and the RA was in there, and he ended up losing his RA job.
Yeah.
Bad times.
That noise you hear is the sound of my parents' heads hitting the wall, thinking about them spending $20,000 to send me there.
Oh, come on. It was money well spent.
Absolutely. Now there's songs written about me, so they really can't complain.
All I can say about college is that anybody who thinks that it's money well spent is insane. If you have a kid who's a senior and you think it's like a great idea to be dropping $50K a year, it's going to be this valuable thing for them, lower your expectations. I don't think college should be worth $50K a year. I just think that's absurd.
It's you can't even. There's not even a word to describe how outrageous that is.
Your kids are going to go to college. They're going to look for every possible way to cut corners. They're going to be out having a good time, and you're not going to get your money's worth unless you have a really responsible, nice kid who has a good sense head on his shoulders. Which we didn't. We did not.
No, sir. No.
Anyway, let's.
This is a controversial podcast. Your polio humor, and now basically telling people don't send your kids to college.
I am a believer in college.
No,
I'm just saying lower your expectations. And honestly, like the amount of time that people spend worrying about who gets in where, and he got rejected. I got rejected from Georgetown. It was like my world ended.
Yeah.
I was like, my life's not going to work out. Like, it really doesn't matter where you go. It matters what you do and the people you meet and the experiences that you have. It doesn't matter. The difference between you getting a B+ and a B- on a test, nobody's going to care when you get out of college. I mean, I think all the people that we knew in college who spent so much time like slaving away on these things, and it's like they really didn't have to.
And did they have songs written about them?
They do not. They do not. All right, let's play the Gregarious Raconteur by Theocracy, and maybe we can let's just play it.
All right. Complex Litigation, this is John.
Nice open.
Johnny's worried about the Yanks again, pushing at 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. Legal mind and staunch Republican.
Sounds a little like Rush.
His love for A-Rod wavers like a candle in the wind. He still misses the mighty well among us when the Yankees fell together. Montana when they had the perfect chance. Rusty and a legal knowledge.
Yeah.
The 11 college. Holy cross and up to Jordan didn't make the dance. Oh, you had us at hello, JackO. A man, the myth, the legend, the gregarious raconteur. Oh, Babe Ruth, the Joe DiMaggio. Greatest anchor ball is the gregarious raconteur.
I don't know if that's
Enemies of Boston sports arise. Fall behind your leader, litigate and terrorize. JackO and Hank Steinbrenner, your guides.
great company.
He's on a mission, you can see it in his eyes. Lemons of the favorite villain, Mike Wallace and penicillin. Oh boy, I see this is the people of a dross. Sinking, throwing down like out of Chinese water likes to flop. If he comes to toss, that's something like pepper sauce. Oh, you had us at hello, JackO. The man, the myth, the legend, the gregarious raconteur. Oh, Babe Ruth, the Joe DiMaggio. The greatest Yankee of all is the gregarious raconteur.
Oh, coming back one more time.
Hello, JackO. Man, the legend, gregarious raconteur. Oh, Babe Ruth, the Joe DiMaggio. The greatest Yankee of all is the gregarious raconteur.
Bring it home.
Fantastic finish.
Johnny. Wow.
That is fantastic. I got to smoke a cigarette. That was fantastic.
It's really not bad.
It's
I gotta
really
hand it to those guys. It sounded like a late 70s Rush song.
It's great. Theocracy.
Well, Johnny, you have your own theme song. Life is looking up.
Amen.
We're investigating the BS Report Awards. Hopefully we'll have an answer on that within the next 6 months.
Very good. I'll get my legal team on standby.
Hillary Clinton's been protesting how the delegates work. How are you feeling on the Yanks this week?
7.
7 out of 10 on the Are You Worried scale.
Yeah.
All right. I'm a 3.5 on the Red Sox right now because we got the token 6 good weeks start out of Tim Wakefield, and now this is the part where he gets shelled for about 4 weeks. And now Buchholz has like a fingernail or whatever. All of a sudden we're running out of pitchers that
What about
I trust.
What about Gagne 2.0? Jonathan Papelbon.
Oh, how dare you. How dare you.
2 in a row.
The first one was a complete fluke. And the second one was legit. But
0 for 2.
the thing you worry about with Paps is when he blows 2 saves, like you worry he's going to go in the locker room and like put his fist through a phone booth or something.
Let's hope.
I'm not even kidding. Like after that game, I was like refreshing ESPN.com for 2 hours to make sure there wasn't the Papelbon breaks hand headline. But
let's hope he's smart enough to use his non-pitching hand if that comes to that.
Oh, you don't wish that. You wish he uses his pitching hand.
I hope he uses his whole pitching hand, actually.
All right, the gregarious raconteur, JackO.
Go to
theocracy.com
or whatever.
Yep.
All right,
talk to you next week.
See ya.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.